Hi, welcome everyone to LinkedUp, a podcast for educators, linking up educators from across the world. We are talking to educators that are breaking boundaries. I'm Jerry Kimball. I am the National Academic Advisor for ClassLink, and my co-host is Jamie Sabanero.
Hello, I'm Jamie. I'm the Director of Educational Success at ClassLink, and we're getting linked up today on the part 2 of the psychology of the pandemic. And we're very excited to have Nikkia Blair here, who's going to tell us about a program that she has been doing in support of social emotional learning for all. Hi, Nikkia. Hello. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me today. How are you?
Great. Will you please give us your role, your background, and just share with us what you do at your school?
Sure. So I am a school social worker. I work for a Long Branch Board of Education, Long Branch Public Schools, and I've been there.
New Jersey.
I've been there since 2002, and I've worked on the elementary level, and now I love working back in the high school where I'm able to meet with students one-on-one for individualized counseling, and also I do a lot of groups and a lot of different programs throughout the school year with families in our schools, and do a lot of different team bonding with athletic departments. So that's pretty much my role within the school. And I'm also I hold a master's in social work, and I'm also a professional life coach.
Wonderful. So it's really great being at the high school, I guess, because you really get to kind of touch all bases and different departments and all stakeholders, everyone involved. So I love it. That's great.
Thank you.
Well, a few weeks ago, we had your superintendent on, Dr. Salvatore, and he was talking about a program that you're doing in your district. And as a former school counselor, I was totally blown away. And the minute the podcast was over, I was like, who is leading this up? Who is this person? We have to share this. We have to link people up to this because this program sounds amazing. And so as we talk about the psychology of the pandemic, it sounds like Long Branch is really getting behind this psychology and digging in deep. So can you tell me or tell our audience a little bit about the program, how it got started?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're right. Dr. Salvatore is very open-minded and is really taking the district in a holistic approach, I believe. He really wanted to be able to take care of our staff first as they transition back into the schools, and then from there be able to take care of our school body, our school students, and our community families. So about 5 years ago, Dr. Dudek and I, she's one of our assistant superintendents, were having a conversation about wellness and self-care. And out of that came Project Aware. Project Aware, Aware being an acronym for Advancing Wellness and Resilience in Education, is something that we started with and we have very many frontline staff in our district. So when I say frontline, that really could be one of our bus drivers in transportation, because you don't know what a student may say as a student gets on the bus. So using that term broadly, but one audience that we chose to take on was the audience that is usually called in if there's a crisis going on in our district, something that's happened in a school where someone may need to be assessed before they go to crisis management or may need to go to the hospital. So that would be all of our social workers, whether they work in school-based, if they're part of child study team, all of the child study team members, in addition to all school counselors. And we also have in our district student facilitators and student advisors. Once a month on a Friday, we all come together and we talk about wellness and self-care. So we want to make sure that these staff members are really, really taking care of themselves first. And then we started to implement workshops and professional development to give them more tools to be able to turnkey out to their audiences, their buildings. So this is district-wide, where we all come together once a month. So that has been Project Aware, and we've been leading that. I'm the chair of Project Aware for 2 years now. So Dr. Salvatore and I had a conversation about, I would say maybe in May or June, about self-care and wellness came up, and that gave birth to this Project Aware Task Force, which Dr. Dudek and I now started based on a conversation that Dr. Salvatore wanted to really implement this holistic approach and really self-care and wellness with our staff members first. So that came the Project Aware Task Force, which we now started and implementing the wellness circles within our school district.
So the wellness circles.
Yes.
That sounds like the key to success to me.
Absolutely. They've been really awesome. It's been refreshing, and it gives the staff an opportunity to come out. So the purpose of the Wellness Circle was to be able to give all staff throughout the district an opportunity to come back to the school. You know, we left school in such an array. I don't think anyone really thought that we would have been gone for more than 2 or 3 weeks, and then the weeks just kept extending and extending. So we left however we left, and just to be able to bring staff back in a calm, soothing opportunity to step foot back, to start easing back into our school for whatever it may look, whatever our school year, however it may look when we open up. So the Wellness Circles was open to everyone, voluntary, so they could come in. We had different times that they were offered to come into the building, outside, socially distancing 6 to 8 feet apart. And we meaning myself, led the team of, we have 7 other employees that from the school district that are school counselors or social workers that are part of the team. So we were able to go into all of the buildings and have everything set up to hold our wellness circles. And we had a great turnout for those that were able and felt comfortable to come out, where we presented. Session 1 was on wellness and the 8 dimensions of wellness and basically taking care of yourself. And then session 2 followed up with being able to bridge back into the school, what that would look like and how that would feel to come back into the school. We also have a 3rd session that's going to roll out when we get back to school the first week in September. And that's mainly focusing on the student coming back into the building and what that may look like for them.
Talk about breaking boundaries. I mean, this is really digging in. I mean, you're taking what you started with Project Aware and then really allowing for just a deeper connection with the staff. And I just love that idea of making sure that sort of like dipping your toe in, right, before you jump right in. And it's a really smart thing to do. And I think it also probably helps with, you know, some of the isolation that we felt during remote learning. And then you have this summer break, like you said, everything just kind of like abruptly ended. And then now this is a great idea for transition. I really love it. So how many have you done so far, wellness circles?
We've had 2, and then
2.
Just did for our 3rd week, we did a makeup session that we offered strictly by Zoom for those that were not able to come out or maybe felt uncomfortable with coming out. We still wanted them to be able to have an opportunity to still listen. So that was our 3rd week. And now the 4th week, which will be next week, will be blank. We'll have a week of rest. And then we actually come back to school that following week, which will be the 3rd session that we will roll out.
Wow.
And you were prepared for, you were really prepared for this pandemic then, weren't you?
I just think when great minds get together, and when you have a superintendent like Dr. Salvatore, he's just so open-minded and willing to hear different ideas and just has a different thought process, that it's just so easy to implement different things that you come up with. And I love utilizing my creative piece of my brain, that there's just different ideas that come together, and we have really great people in our district. So, the team that I work with, they're so intelligent and competent. It is so smooth and so easy to put things together. You would be amazed at how beautiful this process has been. The communication has been really awesome.
Well, I think it all speaks to the culture of empowerment, because once you have that, then all of these creative ideas and the collaboration that it takes to do this, it's all in place there. So, I mean, there are no boundaries in Long Branch, I see. So I think that's really fantastic. I mean, it's really impressive. And I think there's probably going to be some other programs we might be highlighting on our podcast from this school. What do you think, Jerry?
Oh, absolutely. I was wondering, what are some of you said that you've invited everyone, bus drivers, custodians, cooks, teachers, everyone.
Yeah.
What are some of the responses that you're getting or reflections from the wellness circles? Can you share any of those with us?
Absolutely, it's exciting to share. One of my favorite responses was with the transportation department. So our transportation department really shed light to me on, and they shared a couple of stories about a little girl that got on the bus and that talked about how she was feeling of wanting to self-harm and hurt herself. And the role that that bus driver played was so instrumental as far as making sure soon as she got to where she needed to be, she called right away to the building principal because she had that relationship and was able to make sure that that student was okay. So that, brought the awareness again to them being first line people as well. So I love talking to people, and I feel like, whether I'm meeting with students and doing meeting for counseling sessions, I learn from my students, they learn from me. Same thing with being able to present, it's reciprocal. So I, out of the transportation conversation during that session that we had, they talked also about wanting more trainings. They felt strongly that in their role, it's like multidimensional. There's so many different things that they may take on or may feel, or what to look out for and how to address if these things come up. So I saw and I heard them, and I definitely shared the need for and the desire of continued education with them. So I think that that's great. One of the pieces of the environmental, that when I talk about the 8 dimensions of wellness, one of my favorite part is the environmental, and we talk about your space, not just recycling and conserving energy, but also organizing your space and having your space nice and neat. And one of the managers of a certain department shared that she felt that her space was, not nice. And when she walked into work, she felt very negative. So the following week when she came back, she talked about really implementing some of the discussions and the things that we shared about organizing her space and changing it and making it feel, good for her to be in. And she just was so happy that she started making some changes. So imagine how that's going to be when she walks into her space and it's much more lively and more energy, right? And then how she's going to handle and talk to, the staff that she supervises. Maybe her attitude will be a little bit brighter, or her mood will be more, like livelier.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really great to see that change. And of course, you also hear stories about some of the struggles that staff may have personally endured during this transition, during coronavirus, whether they have lost someone or are struggling with their own personal things. So those are, and the anxieties of coming back and what it's going to be like coming back into the building. So we touched base on a plethora of things, I think. But I feel like when everyone left, I felt like as much as we could answer, and giving them time really helped to resolve some and ease a little bit of their anxieties and questions. As much as
heard.
Wow. I just wanted to say one thing. I'm sorry, Jerry. It's great that these wellness circles exist, and the whole point is for sharing, but it doesn't stop at the sharing. I think that's the point. And it ties into what we were talking about in the first part of this podcast, the psychology of the pandemic, in that it's about the listening and taking what you're learning and actually using that to make changes. So it's really important that that whole process is in place. And also just making it purposeful. So just doing it just to check it off the list and say that you're doing this, connectivity with people, with the staff. It's not about that. It's not just about that. And that's what the real difference is with this. It's really, really impressive.
And
Thank you.
Nikkia, when you talk about it, it's almost like the wellness circle is like throwing a pebble in the pond, because
Yeah.
I think people get skills and then they can serve other people, and it just ripples out once they have those skills to help others. So you're
Absolutely.
really empowering thousands of people.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I believe that we definitely are. And piggybacking on what you said, Jamie, with Project Aware, so like imagine you're Project Aware, and um, it just grows, like it continues. Project Aware is something that is your continuous string, let's say, throughout the district, and that it will always be there. And this task force, our goal is to definitely continue this. It cannot stop now. It has to
Yeah.
continue on. And when we chose the leaders that we wanted on this task force, we did it very mindfully of spreading out people in different buildings,
Right.
from pre-K to elementary to middle school, and there's 3 of us in the high school, your larger building. So getting out the information, having people in these buildings that have been working is just going to be so much easier, because we've all already been here. We know what the role is. So it is going to be a long-lasting process, not just the pandemic, but self-care and wellness it's something that is it's like wearing, like it's just part of you. It has to be like embedded in you, and not just like a shirt that you just put on like today and take it off before you go to bed, right? So so long lasting for sure. And the ripple effect, like you said, Jerry, absolutely, creating that ripple effect. And my goal for this year is not only to share this with our school family, with the students as well, by the groups that I lead. The other individuals, they can share it within their groups as well in their different buildings. But most importantly, it's getting to our community in Long Branch. This is my mission. I will be sharing these wellness circles with them. How? We will figure it out. I will be creative and offer Zooms or socially distanced sessions, but that is my mission. I think it's very, very important that everyone is on the same page, because if I am learning this as an educator and I'm teaching their child, and when their child goes home, it will be ideal if they have the same tools and the same principles to be able to work on the same page as what their children and their teachers are being taught as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking you can take it even further.
Yeah.
Link you up further. So if districts wanted to do something like this, I mean, we can't have everyone in the world call you, or maybe we can, I don't know. But where could they go for some resources to create their own wellness circles? What would be some good resources?
Sure. So CASEL, CASEL, is an awesome resource. We utilize CASEL a lot in our district. And, they can do a Google search for the 8 dimensions of wellness and start right there. There's a great video that I was able to share with one group, our very first group, our athletic coaches. That was my very first group that I met with, because they got our students right away at the beginning of in July. So I was able to share that with them so they had the visual of it. So that video can be Googled, and they can find the 8 dimensions of wellness. I think it's through YouTube. They can find that. There's several of them, but it's a gist of it. Definitely, more than welcome to call me. I'm more than happy to share or present. But we're excited that, Long Branch is definitely ahead of the game. We usually are right on that curve of getting things out there and being, creative. So I'm excited about this opportunity.
It's really helpful that you've had Project Aware established, because I think it's opened doors and is really supporting in this extreme time of need that we have. But thank you so much for sharing. And I really like to follow up maybe later in the year if we can do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful. Don't you, Jerry?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for breaking boundaries. I think people are going to want to follow up on what you're doing. I really do.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. So we, you know, in our we had, this is the part 2, and again, we try to wrap up with what links us. And again, what linked us before and what links us now is about that authenticity, because it's not just doing this and saying that you've done it and checking it off a list. You're really, I mean, you are so motivated and excited about it. And just like you said, this is purposeful and meaningful so that it becomes part of everyday practice. And that's the point. So thank you so much, Nikkia. We really appreciate you joining, and we hope to talk to you again.
Yes, thank you.
I think all of you. Yes, thank you. Thank all of you as well for joining. And if you'd like to stay linked up, then be sure to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and then subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Thanks so much.